Hi traders, and welcome back to the Desire to Trade channel. Thanks again for all your support. I thought I'd do a little different twist here and sort of take a glimpse at my quirky KPIs, my key performance indicators. A lot of traders have different performance measures that they use, and I hope you have at least some of them, win-loss rate, profit factor, things like that. But from a risk management side, I like to take sort of a different twist. And some of them are sort of interesting and quirky, as I call them. And a lot of them I try to instill in my managed accounts and also the traders that I coach. So let's take a look at them. All right, see what you think. Maybe you like some of them. Maybe you want to put them into work next month. And some maybe just doesn't apply to you. That's totally fine. There's a few at the end too I want you to take a look at, see what you think. I'm curious of your thoughts, and I want to get the conversation going about KPIs and your trading in the comments below. But let's take a look, deep dive, and see where we're at. Okay, so the first KPI that I really want to measure, and it's very, very important to me, is my results by catalyst. And what exactly is that? Well, every trade I must have by rule in my charter, in my trading plan, has to have a catalyst. What is the driver of the purpose of that trade? And I put a few examples here of some that I measure, and again, start to think about how you would measure them. Pre-market activity, very, very important. I want to see, particularly in the futures markets and some of the high beta NASDAQ stocks, how they're acting pre-market and how they're acting in relationship to the overall index. So if the NASDAQ is down and NVIDIA is up, which it seems like every day they're up, it's important to me. That's interesting to us. I want to sort of buy strength and sell weakness in relation to the index. So the next, news event, right? Very, very important. Not just is there a news event, is there not a news event, but how are my results by the catalyst, which is a news event? So how are my results with non-farm payrolls, unemployment number versus, say, CPI, things like that. I want to break that down in my KPIs so I can use that as a strength for future trades. Technical breaches, very, very important in a sense where I want to see how are my results when breaches occur. So if you have, say, a support or resistance line and they breach that and I go with or go against, I want to see the results of my trades based on each particular one. All right, I have some reversion trades. How do they do when I have a technical breach? So my KPIs are really getting into the nitty gritty here, and for good reason. My last one, as far as catalyst, trade or panic. This is my number one catalyst as far as performance, and now recently in the past 3 or 4 years, volume. All the things can line up, but I really want to see where traders may be trapped. Overnight in the futures, is everything 100% below the close of yesterday? All right, that's important. It means those traders, granted the market may be down and they're short, but are they trapped? Chances are they might be. Do I have a scenario that I want to play into it that will allow me to take advantage should they decide to panic? Trader panic, my number one success rate regarding catalyst. All right, let's go to the next one. Net points per trade based on trade size. Well, of course, on my trade size, when it's bigger, I'll probably have higher results. I mean, that's the whole basis of it. But what about those results based on per unit of trade? So what I'm trying to find out here in my KPIs are, am I taking advantage of my A+ setups with size? But more importantly, if I break it down to trade size per unit, do I tend to maybe take profits too early? Things like that. You'd be amazed. I may have an A+ setup where I trade big size, but per unit per trade, it's about the same, maybe even lower than sort of a smaller trade. It's very common in traders that I oversee and also in my own trading. What does that tell me? Possibly that I'm taking profits too early. That's usually the case. Maybe it's a little too big for me. Maybe I'm getting a little scared. Maybe when prices reverse, I'll take a break even, as opposed to if I have maybe 1 or 2 units, I just letting the thing ride and letting it play out. So really, really important to me. It's part of my growth as a trader. I need to increase my size as I move along in my career, and that's a key metric that I've really instilled in the last few years. Next, very interesting, and I'm curious to see what your comments are in the comments below. My phantom rate. Now, what really a phantom rate is, I sort of coined this sort of phrase, it's sort of a quirky KPI, but it's really the trades that met my criteria, but I just didn't take them. Now, maybe I was busy, maybe I was out of the office, things like that. There's valid reasons why I didn't take a trade. But what a phantom rate will do was really incorporate all the trades that met your criteria. In our trade journals, let's face it, we just record the ones that we had taken. Well, a phantom rate is pretty cool in the sense that it may validate or strengthen your validation that your strategy is really working. Sure, you want the P&L and you're not going to get it because you didn't take the trade. But what's the reason behind why you didn't take the trade? And quite honestly, if I wasn't there to take it, but it reassures and validates with a bigger sample size that my strategy is working, that's pretty cool. That's important to me. So I'm going to measure my phantom rate and see what the results are. So they're going to validate the success of my trade or that it's working, or it may tell me, hey, you know what, Mike, I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. Maybe I need to sort of get back into the office at a certain time frame, things like that. All right, phantom rate. Let me know what your thoughts are. It's a little controversial, but I kind of like it. Trail versus no trail. This is something I've instilled in my trading, in my monitoring the past 3 years or so. And I really wanted to find out, when I trail, are the results net better? They should be, because I'm leaving size on, and even though it's smaller size, but I'm hoping for a bigger move. Obviously, the risk is that you get the pullback and then you get stopped at a break even. So what's the net result? I've been monitoring this, and I have to tell you, it's somewhat consistent, maybe a little disappointing, but the results of my trailing versus no trailing, about no difference. So basically tell me that, yeah, I'll hit a home run once in a while, but those stop out or break evens really cost me opportunity. So the net result is my first target seems to be pretty good. So I'm being more selective in when I trail, and it has to be sort of an A+ trailing setup to occur for me to do it. So keep that in mind. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Obviously, everybody wants the big home run once in a while, but how much is it costing me? Also, a little side note is, when you don't trail, you have that buying power to use on another trade. So there's sort of an inherent opportunity cost benefit that you're getting by not trailing. I really don't measure that, but there's definitely something to factor in, particularly for smaller accounts. All right, process compliance. If anyone knows me, has been coached by me, or has watched the channel, you know I'm really big on compliance, measuring your execution accuracy in relationship to your plan. And the few things that I want to make sure I highlight here is the catalyst identification. Did I identify a catalyst before I pushed the button? And we talked about that a little earlier. Entry compliance, very, very important, because that's really the one thing that we can't control. Once we push the button, it's really up to the trading gods, hoping the math in your back testing really plays out. But the entry is the one thing I can control, and that's really important. Did I chase? Did I wait too long? Or did I not take the trade, in which becomes a phantom trade? And the overall trade management. Did I move my stops? Did I, keep my targets and things like that? Or did I make the changes throughout the trade, which may be valid because of other market-generated information? Really, really important. That process compliance rate needs to be up there in the upper 80s, low 90s. No excuse, particularly on my managed accounts. That's how I get measured, and that's how I get paid. Lastly, inside day versus outside day. Very, very telling in the sense that some of my strategies, maybe more chop strategies, work better on an inside day. And that's really where price is inside yesterday's range. And I'll particularly use this in futures markets, but I think it work in equity and Forex as well. My inside day trades are different in regarding results based on the type of strategy. So basically, in a nutshell, my chop strategies, my reversion to the mean, a lot of my VWAP magnet type trades work really well on inside days because you're just taking advantage of that chop. My trend type strategies don't work as well during this time. And what my goal is with my KPI is to see is that deviating at all? And quite honestly, so far in the past year and a half or so, it has not. Chop strategies work better on inside days versus trend-based strategies where I'm going to trail more and really take advantage of breakouts and things like that. It kind of just makes sense, but it's really cool when you see the KPIs validate common sense. Really, really, really important. So I just wanted to give you a taste of some of the KPIs, sort of the quirky ones that I'm watching. I will tell you as a bonus, one of the KPIs that I'm not measuring anymore, and I started doing this last year, and officially on January 1st, I made the business decision not to, is win-loss. I just stopped measuring it. Why? Because it really just doesn't add any value to me. I don't care. whether it's a 20% win-loss or an 80%. I'm one that kind of likes a higher win rate, and even if it means I make less money per trade. But it got to the point where it was just clouding my judgment, and I was so focused on it that I said, what value does this bring? Profit factor is my paycheck, right? It's my paycheck as a trader, it's my paycheck as a risk manager, and really that's how I get paid. If my profit factor increases, I get paid more. When it decreases, I get paid less. Now, there could be outside factors such as volatility, my performance, my compliance that I talked about, right? If I have a too high of a profit factor, it actually is a little concerning because maybe I'm taking on too much risk. But win-loss is absolutely meaningless. And I kind of like to have bragging rights when I have like a low win rate. I kind of feel like I'm kind of the lone wolf, and it doesn't matter as long as my profit factor is there. So just a little sample of sort of my quirky KPIs. I'm curious, let's have a conversation about it in the comments. Which ones do you like? Which ones do you use, even if they're not on this list, that you find to be most valuable? I'm curious what your thoughts are, and I'd love to hear from other traders to see, and it inspires me to maybe increase the scope of my KPIs as well. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.